our second vice chair, and we have other board members that will be joining us shortly. They are not here yet. We've got several of them that are off to work. We do have a little business to get to before we introduce our keynote speaker. And that is for those of you, do we have a show of hands? How many? Okay, if you are a member of DEM Women, we have on the table a proposal to award our local candidates here. So I've just, we don't have enough members, I'm informed. We do not have enough members to have quorum. So we're going to have to table that motion for now. In which case, I'm going to turn this over to Amy Steele to introduce Elaine Marshall.
All right, hello everyone. I'm going to take a moment to first of all say thank you for coming this evening and for joining us to hear from our lady school board candidates, as well as our Secretary of State who's made history. And I will read to you her bio, and I think it's worthy of reading, so I'll try to read it with some enthusiasm and excitement because I want you to know exactly what she's accomplished. But the Cabarrus County Democratic Women are excited to host our Secretary of State, Elaine Marshall. She made history by being the first woman elected to statewide executive office in 1997 when she defeated legendary NASCAR driver Richard Petty, who less than a year earlier had been considered virtually unbeatable. And that's a fun fact I don't think many people knew, so we're super excited about that. As Secretary of State, Secretary Marshall has received national and international recognition for her efforts to protect copyright and deter counterfeit goods. The Secretary of State's office today is a key law enforcement agency protecting consumers, investors, and charitable givers against securities fraud and financial scams. Her investors and combating financial fraud of, wait for it, $340 million due to the financial meltdown of the late 2000s. Recently, she led an investigation of a major brokerage concern that led to a $9.4 million recovery for North Carolina investors. I'd say she's looking out for us. And it provided sufficient information for the recovery of over $100 million nationwide for false representations made to clients. Secretary Marshall has revolutionized the real estate industry, of which I'm a member, with the creation of the first e-notary, electronic notary certification as the basis for totally paperless loan closing. Since taking office, Secretary Marshall has cut the cost of doing business for companies and individuals, helping small businesses create jobs. She's taken on lobbying in Raleigh, reforming North Carolina's lobbying laws. She's also kept North Carolina up to date with improved technology, making information available to businesses, investors, and individuals. Her efforts have made North Carolina one of the most affordable places to live in the United States and to do business. Without further ado, let's welcome Secretary Elaine Marshall.
Thank you all. Thank you all. It's just absolutely a delight to be with you this evening. I'm liking the trends that I see coming out of our county, and I think you are no longer a red place, you're going to be a blue place. And I think you can bring it home for 2020. Everybody says that the past elections were the most important of our lifetime, folks. This time, I don't think anybody can deny that. We have got to elect a very good Democratic slate to help Roy. We've got to elect Amy. We've got to get the House back. We've got to get the Senate back. If we don't get one of those, hopefully it'll be both. But Roy cannot do the kind of things that he wants to do in his platform for improving the lives of North Carolinians, treating educators and supporting students, treating educators appropriately. And I know we're going to talk about education tonight. Extending health care coverage to over 600,000 folks with expansion of Medicaid and a lot more things that absolutely need to happen for the quality of life here in North Carolina. And right now, our party is the minority on the Council of State, and I sure need some helpers there by electing what is the most diverse of council estate candidates that this state has ever seen, and by a very diverse statewide slate of judicial candidates. So we've got so many good things going for us. Now, I know that there are a lot of new voters out there that maybe don't know me or new people on this call. Let me give you a little bit of background. I was raised on a family farm in Maryland. My mom's occupation was farmer's at the house. She was a church organist for over 60 years at our small rural church. My dad was a farmer and a feed dealer. We were very community oriented. The fire company was the center of everything other than school activities. Active in the volunteer fire department and mostly raising money so that the department could exist. I'm a product of the public schools and was very active. Weren't for public school teachers who thought they saw something in me, and 4-H leaders that provided opportunities for me to develop as a human being and see another part of the world and to get on a college campus for the first time for a 1-week experience. Nobody in my family had been to college before, so I didn't have my eyes opened about that kind of thing. My family was a good family, wholesome family, but they did not know much beyond 20 miles, say, radius from our farm. I'm a home economist, and I taught public school. I taught home economics in Eastern North Carolina. I thought I was in love with the North Carolina here right after college. It didn't exactly work out, but love of the state certainly has sustained me for any number of years. I have also taught at the community college level, and I've been a small business owner. I was divorced from that person that got me to North Carolina. At that point, it was a pretty low point in my life. And Campbell University had just started a law school a few years before, and I was in third. It was a stretch for me to even think about being a lawyer. But as I got more involved in politics and saw the affairs of the world, I thought a lot of doors. And I went to law school, buckled down and studied like I never studied before, and passed the bar exam and started practicing law. It was the best of my life, reinvention of myself. That it was a struggle. I wasn't because I mostly goofed off, but I buckled down and studied pretty hard in college and passed the bar on the first time. And you just don't know the stress that is relieved from you when you get that letter saying you have passed the bar, which is what our law students are getting right now and yesterday here in North Carolina. I served in the North Carolina Senate while practicing law in Harnett County. But in 1996, there was an opening at the Secretary of State's office, and that's when I ran. That was that famous race against Richard Petty. In the beginning, nobody gave me much of a chance, but I had been named by the News and Observer as Rookie of the Year when I went. I had a lot of networks from 4-H. Even though I was 4-H in Maryland, it kind of transferred here to North Carolina. I'd been active in domestic violence and other family issues through the Extension Service and then my practice of law. So those were all networks that I had of people out there. So I've experienced the ups and downs of being a classroom teacher, the ups and downs of being a small business owner, and then serving in the North Carolina General Assembly prior to becoming Secretary of State. Now, I made it a priority to transform the office by embracing technology and bringing it into the modern era. And when I inherited the office, it wasn't in very good shape. So we really had to go back to the basics. And if somebody says that you can't turn, you can. If you can motivate the people, if you got the right kind of leadership, if they understand why they're doing to benefit the economy. A lot of people don't know what the Secretary of State does. What the Secretary of State office did when I came. We are the heartbeat of business. We are the heartbeat of the economy. Every day, hundreds of applications are made to start a business, which we look at and grant. Banks and other lenders file their loan documentation with us to show what they have taken as collateral. And every day, there are stockbrokers and investment advisors that are registered here in North Carolina. I have some consumer protection aspect, which is the whole gamut from consumer protection education up to civil remedies like license revocation and things that we can do with people who go rogue, all the way up we have. I'm kind of a boutique attorney general. When I say we're the heartbeat of the business community, we're the maternity ward. Birthing takes place. no, in 2019, we were averaging somewhere in the high 200s, low 300s new corporations or nonprofits a day. That has gone like poison ivy. It has so exploded, it's unbelievable. Back when the pandemic, a lot of corporations that wanted PPP loans, they weren't current with their paperwork with us. We did an extraordinary job reinstating 11,000 corporations in the first 3 months. And normally we average about 2,000 reinstatement in 3 months. That number of corporations getting started inching up, inching up, inching up. And the end of the fiscal year, which was June, averaging close to 600 new corporations a day, incoming paperwork. I have a staff meeting every morning, and yesterday we had over 1,000 new business or changes or new corporations that came in. And I'm not saying when will this stop, because we don't want it to stop. It's economic activity, but you know, where is this all coming from? Somebody really turned the spigot on in heaven and it's dropping out. But we are working at full bore and just filing documents and creating entrepreneurs right and left. It should not, people don't know, but it should not surprise you. We are basically a fee for service, except for our law enforcement and our education. People come to us with a fee to be paid that's set by the General Assembly to start a corporation or an LLC. The fiscal year we just closed out, we did about $145 million for the state general fund, and I operate on about a $13 million budget. Now, you don't have to be Einstein's first assistant to figure out that's tremendous return on investment. That's why they tell me I have an attitude problem when I go down to the General Assembly and tell them I need more money. I've already earned it. They tell me I have a bad attitude. Well, by golly, I still have that bad attitude. We have earned that money. Every piece of documentation that went to a $100 deposit or $25 deposit or sometimes a $500 deposit, we're earning money for the state, and it's a huge profit center. So I take my job very seriously. For those that remember that first campaign, my simple message to people was I'm a serious candidate for a job, because nobody knew what the office did, but I had to distinguish myself from Mr. Petty as qualified by my past experiences. I had been a small business owner. I had small town lawyer. I formed corporations. LLCs weren't in existence then, but they did come in there. I had done nonprofit work. I had done notary work. I had done franchising work. So I'd done some aspects of many of the things that we do. So I knew I was qualified for the office, but I had to distinguish myself, and I couldn't give an hour-long lecture about what the job does. So I embrace technology, transparency that reduces the cost of every day, millions, every week, millions, because every day it's up to 500,000 people will be looking at our website to get little pieces of business information that's publicly available. That helps them make better business decisions. And in North Carolina, getting that information is free, F-R-E-E, 24/7. So you can easily see how we have reduced the cost of doing business when folks make better decisions based upon data that we have. We also have developed this electronic notary, which is promoting better e-commerce, better satisfaction of buyers and sellers. People are ready when they go to the loan closing table. And Amy, you probably have had closings that have just failed at the last minute because somebody didn't have a chance in advance to look at the documentation that they were going to be asked to sign, and they would get the willies, and then, you know, maybe they came back in a day or two, or maybe they didn't come back at all. So we are trying to take that anxiety out of this. True Liant Credit Union out of Winston-Salem is the first credit union that has adopted this. The State Employees Credit Union is working their way to it, but they're the largest mortgage producer in North Carolina. And they've got an awful lot of training and back-end office work to be able to get ready for this electronic notarization. But we've worked with all the shareholders in this industry, and we're just real pleased with how it's going. So providing look up lobbyists and see what they're doing, real important. Providing transparency for business transactions, that's real important, and that's what I've staked my so I'm running for re-election because I appreciate y'all's support, and I want everybody to get all of your friends not just you Democrats, but those unaffiliates out there to decide how they're going to vote, make a plan, follow. Lines are easily available. If you haven't seen it in the last little bit, the state has put up a brand new website. It is much more user-friendly. It's ncsbe.gov, and you can track your vote from there. The absentee ballots are starting to come out tomorrow, and you can track it when it comes back in. That is going to be crucial. Your sites for early vote, if you go to the block about early voting, it'll actually show you how many there are in the county, like pin drops on a Google map. And you can see the picture of the building that it's in. You can get directions from where you are to where that is. It is a much more user-friendly website. So go ahead and take advantage of that. And remember, people can register at the one stop. They can register the same day they can vote. So just the deadline about registration, I mean, I do. But that is, hold on, I got it right here on a cheat sheet. The 9th, I believe. Yeah, the regular voter registration concludes on October the 9th. The State Board of Elections has one piece of information that I don't think is real. It's not incorrect at all, but it is not good information. They say that, you know, you can ask for your absentee ballot on October post office. That's only 1 week before Election Day. I would not want to depend upon ballot on the 27th for them to get it out and you to do it and get it back. So I would say that you need to that request 2 and 3 weeks out there. And what I'm telling everybody is ask for it now if you intend to vote absentee. Don't wait till any debates. Go ahead and complete it and get it on back. But you need to pay attention to the envelope that the ballot gets returned in. We have in North Carolina in 2016, 10% of the people that tried to vote absentee that actually sent a ballot in, it did not get counted because they never opened the envelope. The reason they didn't open the envelope was there was some problem with it. A lot of times people don't sign the outside of the envelope. And that's a deal breaker. There's got to be a signature on it. And if you have assistance with filling it out, also there has to be one witness. That witness also has to put their information in there. So when you put your information, put your telephone number and your email address in there so that they can, it can be cured, but you got to have time for this. So if there is some flaw, some error, make it so that they can contact you so that you can get it fixed. I see somebody put in here that Cabarrus County is 9th in the state for requesting absentee. That's great, but get them in. Go in person and vote, even though you requested an absentee, you may do that. Because is if that absentee gets lost and it comes in or something, it's going to set up a situation that you know who in the White House is going to rail about. But when you vote, negates the ballot that was put in. It's called spoiled. It spoils the ballot that is the absentee ballot. So that's why people need to make a plan. They need to carry it out. My either vote in the early part of early voting or go ahead and get that ballot so you can have it next week, cast it and get it on back. So it's got plenty of time to get back. It only has to go from your house to the Cabarrus County Board of Elections. It's got to go around the world, but let's make sure they get in. And that's what I wanted to share with you all tonight. Proud to be here. I'm proud to be part of the Democratic leadership of this state and would ask for your vote. And you can go to elainemarshall.org. I'll type it in the chat box there. Contributions are always welcome. And volunteers are welcome, and information about different awards and different things I've been doing are up on that website. Or you can go to sosnc.gov and see the official website about those, because more so than the campaign one is. So.
Well, wow. Thank you, Secretary Marshall. As a business owner, I want to say your website has undergone some major enhancements that I love, and it's made it easy for me to file my annual report. So thank you for that.
Good.
And also, everything that your office produces. At this time, we'll Secretary Marshall. So if you have anything, go ahead and jot that in the chat. And then I'll go ahead and, well, Secretary Marshall, I'm sure you're reading it. You're so savvy electronically. You're like monitoring the chat, talking, full of energy.
One eye's this way and one eye's that way.
And you're a comedian. I mean, I can't see anyone else in office besides you. So I'm so excited to be on with you tonight. So does anyone have any questions or send out loud? You can raise your hand, say it verbally, or type it in the chat. Okay, I think everyone is just in high support. I know Secretary Marshall can count on everyone's vote on this election. So Secretary Marshall, there are 24 votes on this call. So
the early voting starts October 15th, and there will be Saturday and Sunday voting this time. There will be more weekend voting than there has been. So that's all good news. Early voting stays open till 7 o'clock on weeknights so that people that work till 5 or 6 have an opportunity to get there. So they're up on all the election boards' websites, but it starts on the 15th.
And actually, we had a great victory here in Cabarrus County. I think our early voting stays open till 7:30, but Martin Erickson in our county, Martin Erickson will provide more detail about that shortly. But we were able to gain Sunday voting this cycle, whereas we didn't have that before. And so our Board of Elections did go before the State Board of Elections, and they made a decision this past Monday, the 31st. And so now we have 2 Sundays, 3 Saturdays, and so every day from 10:15 until Halloween, our elections are open. So we're super excited about that.
One plan that I know some folks are doing is they're getting an absentee ballot, and then they intend to take it back to an early vote site rather than depend upon. You're going to have to wait in line as it stands because your absentee ballot kind of has to be signed in. This is all as the result of Congressional District 9 political jujitsu by the Republican Party, and the General Assembly then responding, which ends up making it harder for everybody and creates more potholes that people can fall into when voting. And that's the part that bothers me a lot. I know I sound like an old school teacher, which I fill out that envelope as completely as we can. Yeah, political jujitsu, you're right.
I love it. You are really an amazing person, Secretary Marshall. I've known that since the first day I met you, but I have just one question since we don't have any formal questions, and then we'll switch on over. What's your advice to anyone on the call who, you know, your office handles businesses, business registrations, that kind of thing? You know, I know you don't give tax advice, but just for small business owners or people who are looking to make some extra money during this time where, you know, we have turbulent employment numbers and things. So for those people who are looking to make some extra money and they may want to start a business but are not really sure, what's your advice for them?
I can tell you that, you know, you can be you don't have to form an entity. You can even use an assumed name. If you do that, then you go down to the Register of Deeds and pay a small fee, like $5 or $10 to register. Like if Vincent wants to open up Vince's Pizza, that's a trade name and you have to register and, you know, all that stuff. Or even worse, something that doesn't have your name, if you just want to read some record of who the person is behind Pizza to Go, and that is done at the Register of Deeds office. The most popular style is the limited liability company, which is the LLC, because it does not require separate tax filing. The profits and losses of an LLC flow through to individual taxpayers' individual return. A whole lot less bureaucracy, if you will, about having a LLC than a corporation. So that's by a country mile compared for the registrations. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, we say thank you. Everyone, let's give Secretary Marshall a hand, either with your physical hands on the screen or your Zoom hand. All right. Thank you so much.
The people here. I want to say best wishes to all the candidates who are on tonight. I am delighted to see the high number of women candidates you have running in this county. I am very much emboldened by that. And I just hope that you all will be very successful. Work like a dog and put on your high heels and your lipstick and go. You know, we just gotta work hard. We've got to change some things in this state. There is great hope and possibility for changing the General Assembly. And I'm looking at Amy, and that's one of the ones we have great hopes with. And I've heard some awesome tales about your fights. Rock on, rock on.
Thank you. I'm trying. Well, thank you, Secretary Marshall. And I'll turn it back over to Vincent.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you, Secretary Marshall. I'm kind of behind the scenes here trying to keep things on track with the PowerPoint, and hope I do a halfway decent job here. We agreed to put a slide up for the different candidates as they appear on screen, just in case the video as it should. If it does, then I will just immediately turn this off so we can see the person rather than the sign. And the first one is Cindy. Cindy, I think you are on video, so I could stop share if you are, and people can see you as you're sharing your video.
Yeah, I don't have a video to share, but you can see me.
Okay, there you go.
You just asking for introductions at this point?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All of our school board candidates have about 3 minutes to introduce themselves,
Okay.
talk about your campaign. Yeah.
I'm Cindy Fartenbaugh. I think most of the folks on the call know me, but I am encouraged as well by all of the women candidates that we have. And I'm starting to use what I'll call present tense and saying, when we all get elected, of course, there's 5 total, but I think we only have 4 on here right now, that I think we can make a great impact. Sometimes it's hard being the only Dem or Dem thinking person. I mean, I try to keep party out of school board discussions, but sometimes I'll say our thought processes, members who are thinking more of the same way. So anyways, I have been on the school board since 1998 I did not run in 2012, years from 12 to 16, ran again in 16. So I'm in my 18th year right now. I've really found that education has been my passion, both for and also with other volunteering, such as with communities and schools. And just yesterday, the SOC Channel 9 School Tools Project, my Rotary Club is the nonprofit sponsor, happens to be Amy's Rotary Club as well. We just finished that, and we collected over 24,000. So school for that to 42 properties in the district. And I will tell you, and staff were very grateful. So anyways, from a school board, I'll say candidate platform, if you will, my goal was always to be prepared, study the issues, challenge staff when that needs to occur. But one thing I always do is I never embarrass them at the meeting that I'm going to challenge something. And just, in fact, had a conversation with the superintendent today about our meeting on Tuesday. And he knows my thoughts and a few. So at least he'll keep that in mind when he's formulating what he'll say on Tuesday. And every other board member can do that as well. He said he had actually heard from 2 other members today. So I will pledge to continue being prepared, representing parents and students. Can't promise that I will get every parent what they want, because that's just simply not possible. And one thing I always remember, and I learned this back in 1998 with my first election, is that you must be able to count to 4 on the school board. An individual school board member has no power. So you have to form coalitions and buddies and collaborators, and that's why I'm looking forward to having a few of the ladies on this call join me on the board. So I won't belabor that. If anyone has, can answer those now or later.
Questions. That's a great segue though. And Vincent, if you'll tell us who's next. But thank you.
Well, thank you. And it's Ms. Keisha Sandage. Keisha, do you have video and audio on?
Uh-oh, Keisha, there's a delay with your audio. No. Can you all hear Keisha? Maybe it's just me.
No, I can't
No?
either.
Okay. Try again, Keisha.
You want me to go to the next person, or?
Let's try her again. Keisha, can you?
Keisha, can you?
mic?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not sure what's happening with.
Better.
Well, I raised my hand earlier and I was going to say, what a fiery speech. You just got my behind, and I want to do some things after that speech. So did you miss your calling on motivational speaker? But yes, my name is Keisha Sandich, and I am a candidate for Cabarrus County. I'm a mother, I'm a licensed clinical social worker, I'm a licensed clinical addiction specialist, and I feel that those two qualities brought to our board that much better. Right now, we are in a crisis where we are dealing with children who come to school with baggage, and that baggage, we need to be able to address it, not just looking at academics. We need to be able to have teachers prepared children that come to school with trauma, that come to school with substance use disorders and issues that surround those things. So one of the reasons why I stepped up to this is to bring that idea to our board and to also bring a little bit of representation for our entire community to our board. So again, my name is Keisha Sandich. I am a first-time candidate for Cabarrus County Board of Education, and I plan to be the one in the middle on our board. And I want to listen to everyone. I don't care your race. I don't care your political background. I don't care your finances. I don't care your orientation. I want to meet you where you are, and I want us to make things happen that are just right and just for our children and our schools and their families. I want to bring our community, and I want our community to play a role on our Board of Education. So please, I hope I can get your vote on November 3rd for Keisha for Cabarrus County.
Awesome.
Next up is Katherine Bondsmore. Katherine, I think you have.
I do. Good to see everyone tonight. I am Katherine Moore, and I recently retired 2 years ago with 35 years experience in education. 33 years of those were spent in Cabarrus County as an elementary school guidance counselor. I am a graduate of Cabarrus County Schools, graduated from Northwest. My mom and dad are graduates. I also grew up on a farm. My mom, and she actually started the health occupations program at that time in the city schools with Concord High School, and she retired from there. My first job was a bus driver, and I told a couple families that this week, and I think they were more impressed with me being a bus driver than they were me being an educator, and as were anyway. But anyway, but now when I think about driving a bus, that would scare me to death. But at 16 and 17, I loved it. I knew at a very early age, teach, went to Appalachian, got a degree in elementary ed, K-9 with math, got a master's in counseling, came back to UNC Charlotte, got a 6-year degree in counseling and a second master's in school administration. I loved teaching. I loved working with children. I've been an advocate for 35 years for children, school staff, and parents. And when I retired, I continue being an advocate. And the school board was what I decided I wanted to do. My father was a county commissioner here in the 80s, and he was the liaison. I think he worked with Linda when he was the county commissioner and was liaison for school board. I would go with him to several meetings. He wanted me to go to see the actual structure of a school system. So I've always been interested in local politics, and I ran 18 and came close to a seat. So I wanted to run again, and I'm this time, and Cindy does need help. Cindy's been the only Democrat for many, many years. So this is our year to join her. But thank you, and I appreciate all of your support.
Thank you, Kat.
Michaela. I think I saw her name in there, but I don't know if she is on video. Michaela?
I am on video. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed.
All right, I am here. Hello, everybody. I am Niquela Deas-Blanton, and I am a native of North Carolina by way of Charlotte. I have 2 children with special needs. I am married to a local attorney here as well. I have a background in criminal justice, having been a probation parole officer, every kind of officer you can think of in the criminal justice system. I think detention officer, correctional officer, and at some point, I think God was telling me I've had enough of that and I need to move over and do something different. And he told me once by giving me one child with special needs, but I wasn't listening. So he said, since you can't hear me, I'll yell a little louder. So he decided to give me a second one. And now I'm like, okay, Lord, I hear you. And I understand what my purpose is now, which is to represent unique families like my own. As I've said to you guys, many of you on this call several times, that for me, my experience in the Cabarrus County school system came when my over here, and it was tough, you know, trying to figure out how to get him the needs that he had met, because he was mute. He was unable to walk, but it seemed everyone was focusing on his disabilities rather than his abilities. So it was really difficult initially for me to figure out, how do I get them to see what's inside? And it didn't take long for me to find some people who were able to collaborate with me. And they became my best friends and helped me advocate and be creative through the system and get the things that we needed, to a point where I've said it before that I couldn't have asked. Me, my goal is to represent other families like my own, as I said, and to help the families navigate through the system, and to know that it is not a system that is against you. It is a system that is here to help you. But I want to face that families and parents can look at and say, okay, here's the person that I can go to, so that I can help them get through that, so that they too can have a successful takeaway. Also, it's important to me to be able to, like Keisha said again, we both have similar backgrounds. Now I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. I actually own a private practice here in Cabarrus County, and I've worked in schools as a school-based therapist. And my goal is to also address the underlying issues that students have, and lots of traumas are making themselves known right now. And I think when kids go back, those things are going to be really, really big issues for us to attack. So it's important for us to add some wraparound services to these kids by way of adding school-based therapists in the schools, making sure that every school has a family advocate, can go out and speak to the families and find out exactly what they need. We have a very high interventions here, and we want to address those and see if we can't curtail some of those by way of adding additional services and programs. So that is my platform. And again, I also thank you so much for your time, and I ask for your vote on November 3rd as well. Thank you.
And I'm not sure, thank you, Nicola. I'm not sure if Nora is on this call. I didn't see her name, so I'm not sure. Do you know, Amy, can you see on the list if Nora is with us?
I did not see her on the call this evening.
Okay.
I did not see her.
All right, well then we will progress to the next slide, which is Q&A. Know that this is the second time that the school board candidates have been on a call. They last week were on a call with Dr. Jen Mangron, lieutenant for public instruction, leading that conversation. And I know there were several questions that were asked during that meeting. They not asked, that were left on the table. And if anyone has some of those, perhaps this would be a good time to address those questions. And if not, we can entertain more questions in the chat room, or if people raise their hand, we can address it that way.
Yes, and thank you, Vincent. We are going to spend about 5 to 7 minutes on questions. And if we don't have any, then we're going to turn it over to Martin Erickson to give us an update from the Board of Elections so that we can promptly adjourn at 7:30. Questions for our school board candidates. You can either raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay, Cindy, she wants to provide a clarification. Go right ahead. Cindy, are you there?
Yeah, I thought I had hit the unmute, but I guess I didn't. Can you hear me now? Okay. So regarding the suspension, several years ago, we did change our suspension philosophy and strategy. So if you look at current statistics, it's actually much lower. And what we did is we opted to keep kids in school and either put them in what we call in-school suspension ISS rooms, or sometimes, depending on the infraction, sometimes they the infraction. So for example, there's certain things that would not be productive for that student to stay on campus. For example, if they had slapped a teacher, profanity in the hallways at a loud voice or something like that. So then they go to what we call the opportunity school, and there's a full staff there who help the students continue learning in an online manner with some additional counseling and sessions where they work together in groups to learn how to do things like anger management. So we have drastic school suspensions. That's something we're very proud of, because that in turn, by keeping the kids in the building, either their current school, if that's allowable based on the infraction, or going to the opportunity school, that also helps us to increase our graduation rate. So it's a multifaceted decision involved. So it's not harming the child. It's not putting a burden on the parents because they're still going to school. But it is giving the kids lessons and also providing them that extra counseling if needed.
So as a principal in schools during that time, seeing the transition and moving toward a multi-tiered system of support, I can say that the suspension rates have dropped significantly. I'm still personally attached to this notion that children of color still receive more attention as it relates to punitive consequences than other students. And that's something I observed. It's, just dealt with in general. So I think there's still, again, a body of research and a body of data that support the idea that we need reform as it relates to suspensions, disciplinary infractions, students in general, no matter their color, no matter, their economic background, just in general. So, but I do recognize kids are much different these last 5 to 10 years than they've ever been in all of humanity.
And I think too, Amy obviously, was a principal in a couple schools and AP and other schools. When you have an administrator of color, that often helps folks to understand. In fact, I just had a teacher tell me this today, that a parent with the remote learning was very frustrated about Wi-Fi and internet connections and whatnot. And they had a male supervisor contact, and he happened to be an African-American technology supervisor, contacted that parent, and that parent finally accepted his response. So they had gone through 3 or 4 other principal, AP, ITF, different people. So it's important to have a ship where people say, yes, you are like me in some way. And so therefore, maybe you're being more understanding or more fair to me. So we've tried, one of the things we've done in the district is the state doesn't fund for assistant principals until you get to, the ratio is now like 900 students to 1 or something. So obviously we have a lot of schools that are under 900 students. So the local county money pays for those assistant principals. But what we did is we have promoted some, I'll say, teacher leaders to what we call dean of students. And so they're acting in that way and allowed us to actually get more minorities into roles where they don't have the full administrator certification yet. They're kind of, they've raised up from being a lead teacher. So it's been a good strategy.
I think that's a great strategy. And one of the, oh, LaSherie has a question. One of the things I've definitely appreciated is the idea that our local school board petitions our county commissioners to help pay for some of the things that need to be paid for that we feel, or that the school board feels, and the school leadership, school system leadership feel are important for the schools. So that being counselors, additional administrators, and other teacher positions that are paid for by the local board, and all of the funding that's supplied there. So that's great. LaSherie Rogers has a question she'd like to ask out loud.
Hi. Amy, and thank you for mentioning, bringing up that the mention rates, and especially dealing with African American children. And that actually was a question I was actually going to pose to those who are. Question is, now that we have acknowledged that, do you all have any plans, or what are your thoughts and approach that we will take in trying to, I guess, deal with the issue of the suspension rate, the high suspension rate, and especially dealing with it being highly with African American children? How do we address that, or what are your plans? You intend to address that at some point collectively?
LaSherie, how do I say it, sweetie?
LaSherie.
LaSherie, this is
Yes.
Niquela. As I said before, the way that I would like to deal with it is to, first of all, do some assessments of the child and figure out, first of all, what's really going on with the child. As I said, I'm a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and I've been a school-based therapist. And so come with some baggage. And so what we have to first find out is what's really going on at home. What has the child's history been like? What's the family history? Doing some assessments and making sure that the child needs some additional mental health or medical in place, finding out if the family has some additional needs that they are unable to meet, which are causing additional stress in the home. And as a result, implement those wraparound services that we talk about, trying to put them in touch with those who can offer, if it's housing, if it's food, if it's counseling, whatever it is, if it's medication for that matter, adopting a 501, adopting an I, and doing it early on, being able to assess the child at the early onset, because to the conversation that we're having about the suspension, looking at the district profile from 2018, 2019, and to Amy's point, it says that there's 239 Black students were suspended, 74 white suspensions. And honestly, I'm not even concerned about those numbers. My numbers that I'm really more concerned about are the ones that say 291 with disabilities, because for me, that's a big deal, because they tried to send my child home a couple of times, and I said, he's not coming home. Not going to come home. That's not the answer, because then we are reinforcing negative behavior. I act out, I go home, and I get a reward, so to speak, although there's no rewards here. But in his mind, that's what's going to happen. And don't have to follow through with the rules at school. And so I would like for us to really form some kind of plan to be able to get to the root of the child's problems, so that we can address those collectively, and then again put some things, some structures, some foundations in place, so that the child can be more successful. To for my child, for example, part of the resolve for him was giving him a personal needs assistant. I know a lot of times there's arguments about that, but it was something that the data proved was necessary for him, and he became more successful with his personal needs assistant.
I think to add to that too, LaSherie, we have to remember representation matters. Cindy spoke earlier about the African American male being able to calm down that family, and right now we don't have that. So I think that's where we start first. to Niquila's point about assessing the situation, I think right now we meet kids at surface level. We see them, we see the problem, and it ends at the problem. It doesn't go into what is causing this problem. And if we think back to, grade school, when we were in school, if we had a problem, there was a reason for it. We weren't just acting out just to be doing it. So I think that this is an opportunity for growth here. This is an opportunity for leaning on the folks who are, of color, who experience some of these things every day. This is an opportunity to lean on those folks who, like I said, licensed clinical social workers, counselors in our schools. We currently have a program called Communities in School that to its fullest potential at this point. I would say no. So I just think I'm glad that we're identifying the issues collectively. Now it's time to put actions in place and let's stop talking about it. Let's do something.
Awesome. This is such great commentary. And we are moving along so well. I hate to stop it, but we're just going to move to our next part of our program. But we're so thankful for our school board candidates. If you have any further questions for them and you want to hear their viewpoints, I am going to suggest the school board candidates get together and maybe do a Facebook Live and have some commentary, some questions submitted from the community forum. But I also believe the Black Political Caucus of Cabarrus County is also hosting the school board candidates. Possibly, I need to verify that fact. But I think that's happening.
Facebook Live too, Amy, on that same day of the Black Political Caucus Forum. So they'll be able to answer questions.
Okay, I have to keep up because trying to run my campaign, I've stepped away just a little bit during this cycle, but definitely there are going to be more opportunities to hear from our school board candidates. And so at this time, we want to remind you of the Executive Leadership Forum on Tuesday with the Senior Dems. So Vincent, I'll just keep going if you're good with that. September 8th at 6:30, we're going to have, go back one, Vincent, back one slide. We're going to have okay, I think it's down at the bottom left. So the candidates that you saw will be featured on September 8th. So these will be our county commissioner candidates, as well as our lieutenant governor candidate Representative Yvonne Lewis-Holly. So that'll take place with the Senior Dems, but this kind of collaborative effort on Tuesday at 6:30. On September 24th, we are going to have the Honorable Chief Sherry Beasley and our female school board candidate, since we are the Cabarrus County Democratic Women, and so we're hosting this female candidate, and that's going to be on September 24th at 6:30. So you'll hear from Chief Justice Sherry Beasley and Sabrina Berry, candidate for County Commissioner. And then we are gearing up for our Democratic Women of North Carolina annual state convention. This is our 60th, and this will be the conference where we celebrate women's suffrage and some other things, just an amazing time. Personally, I am going to be sitting on a panel with two of our current state representatives. So this is going to be a great event, great weekend, September 25th through the 27th. So if you want to attend, please get registered. You can Google Dem Women of NC State Convention and get the information from them. And also, we want to always bring attention to our coalition partners. We have our chair, Democratic Party Chair, Bobby Hague, on the line. Bobby, you want to say hello?
Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I couldn't be more proud of Cabarrus County right now. When I found out that we were 9th out of 100 counties as far as requesting absentee ballots, you probably heard me shouting because I was screaming all over the place. So just keep up the good work. We have such great volunteers. I can't thank the volunteers enough.
That's true.
Ruth Hilton, who's our lead with the volunteers, has done a fantastic job. So all I can say is I am proud to be the Cabarrus County Chair.
Awesome. And Vincent, of the Senior Dems.
On behalf of the Senior Dems, I'm so glad to see some of them on this call, actually. We are so proud of this coalition and Bobby's leadership and the leadership of Kathleen and Catherine and Taylor. This is really, truly a team effort, and it's amazing to watch this county turning blue. So yeah, I would love to turn this over to Kathleen because I know she's been the primary driver behind this event.
Yes, our wonderful chair, Kathleen Hannon, president.
She on mute?
I'm sorry, midst of major back spasms, which is why I've been absent. But I just wanted to reach out to everybody and say this has been an amazing experience, and we are doing everything we can. Please do not hesitate to contact me if there's any way I'm here for you. If you need someone to drive you to the polls, if you need help filling out a ballot, we can post my information online so that people can reach out to me. I know we have Martin Erickson here in the audience, who is our guru for all things elections board, and we're going to turn over to him. And I'm looking forward to all the events coming up. But I know I'm voting straight blue, so, and I'm just saying, go everybody, because we need everyone.
Thank you, President Kathleen. And we have the Young Dems North Carolina Piedmont Regional Director, Taylor Beckett. Is he on the call?
We're on the call, nor did I see Catherine. I'm not sure either one of them were able to join us. So I'll
no problem.
Advance the slide and just acknowledge some of the people on this call that I got this, when we used to meet in Trotman's Barbecue, I had an opportunity to take a picture of all you wonderful candidates who are putting your life there. And I couldn't resist the opportunity to put that picture and say thank you to everyone for what you're doing. And let's turn it blue.
With closed eyes, Vincent. We had closed eyes on there.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. They wouldn't. Okay, so anyway, Martin Erickson is on this call. I believe this is one of the last slides on this PowerPoint deck. So I'm going to transfer over to another PowerPoint deck. As soon as Martin takes over, I'll do a stop share. Martin, if you're out there and you are and you're available.
I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Okay, then I'm going to stop share it. And do you have video available as well, Martin?
Well, yes, but I'm not all that pretty, but I'll go ahead and take care of that.
Well, take care of that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to get up your PowerPoint deck.
Okay. And actually, it's been quite an eventful week. On Monday, we went before the State Board of Elections and got our majority plan approved. So we will be voting and early voting for 17 straight days from Thursday, October 5th to Saturday, October 31st, and Sunday. So that's already been covered. And then on Tuesday, something that's really exciting to me, the new North Carolina Absentee Ballot Request Portal opened up. So you no longer have to fill out a paper form. If you filled out a paper form, no problems. But I just posted the link to the chat, votebymail.ncsbe. And that will move ahead to allowing you to request an absentee ballot. Kathleen, I believe, has a relation overseas that needs to vote. So this is also the way that she could go in and get her overseas voter services. A great thing that's brought about. I didn't refresh this slide. I used it last night, so it's than the dates that you see here. It's only one day before we start mailing ballots to requesters. 13,000 requests this year versus 675 at this point in 2016. So election day very shortly coming up. Now, and Vincent's sort of which slides he picked of mine, so I can't speak to it. But obviously, there are three ways to be, and that is the one that many people are selecting this year. The one-stop voting, so we have consistent hours. Weekdays 8 to 7:30, Saturdays 8 to 3, Sundays 1 to 5. You can bring in your executed ballot, already sealed up and witnessed, your absentee ballot, bring it into the one-stop site. But I might suggest, since we're not voting at the Board of Elections, if you happen to be free it might actually be easier, as opposed to having to stand in line there, to bring it straight into the Board of Elections. That's also acceptable. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays, all the way through Election Day. So if you want to hand deliver it, you can deliver it to any one-stop site or to the Board of Elections. And again, during one stop, you go to any place you want. You know, people can still use this paper form, but if you go to the next slide, I think it will show Vincent the new absentee portal. If you pull that one.
Mhm.
Here we go. So this is very simple. It works well on either a tablet, a smartphone. There's a very simple questionnaire based you through it. And for your signature, you use your finger. If you have a touch screen, you use your mouse. So just completely paperless, and gets also is great because we don't have to worry about data entry from a paper form. It really eases the Board of Elections office. Very shortly, whether you submit an absentee request by the paper form or this new online, there is a ballot tracks system, which is really neat. You'll be able to sign on there and provide some information, visual absentee status. You'll be able to see that the request has been received. When it's mailed, the ballot's mailed to you, tracking it through the mail system. When you finish your absentee ballot and send it back, you'll be able to track it through the mail system again. It's received by the Board of Elections and when it has been accepted. Another great reason for sending it in early is if there's any problems the way you've executed the return envelope, we will out to you and get that taken care of. Okay, next slide. And just as a review, I think some of you may have already seen this, completely redesigned, simplified absentee return envelope. Only requires your signature, so there's going to be complete instructions. Mark your ballot, both sides. School board, for instance, will be on the back. Seal it in. Do your voting in front of a witness, 18 years of age or older. When you seal it up, you sign it. The witness provides their printed name. They sign it, and you're good to go. Next slide, if it's the one I'm thinking. Yep. Only take 1.55 stamp or a earlier, and drop it in the mail. It should be received for no questions 5 p.m. Election Day, and it makes sense to get it in even earlier. We do accept them up election 5 p.m., but only if they are postmarked. And I know for a fact things don't necessarily get postmarked as they're coming through the mail. So if you are going to be mailing it in, I would suggest mail it in just as soon as you're ready to make your selections. Again, you can take it by hand to the Board of Elections office or at any one-stop site. Okay, if you have decided that you're going to vote in person, either one stop or at the election day, we're going to be practicing safe voting procedures at all sites. All the workers are going to have protection equipment that they are required to wear. the voters are encouraged to wear masks, and we have masks to hand out and hand sanitizer. They'll be at several different stations. Plexiglass will be placed between like the check-in station and the voter. Everything's going to be spread out. Floor markings, the booths are going to be spread out. We will have ballots. You'll receive a brand new single-use pen that you need to take with you, or we'll throw it away when we clean out the voting booth and ready it for the next person. Oh, I'm doing the whole thing, Vincent. Okay, so one-stop early voting.
You don't.
It's
I
one
was
stop.
going to say, Martin, you don't have to do that. We're over our time, but if you want,
You're out of time. You're out of.
You want to hit the highlights?
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Okay, the highlights. You know, one stop. You can register. You can change your address, and these are the sites tentatively: Northern Plaza, Cabarrus Arena Event Center, Charlotte Motor Speedway, Kannapolis Train Depot. And I think that's the most important thing. And everything else, I think this crowd really knows more about it. But if you have any questions, call the Board of Elections office. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Sorry to cut that short. I just wanted to, we as a board made a commitment to try to respect people's time and be able to conclude in about an hour. We have two more of these forums, and so we want to be just a little bit more cognizant that we have candidates who are giving up their time. I know you're being pulled in thousands of directions. So on behalf of the Cabarrus County Democratic Women, we just like to say thank you for being here with us. And I would say thank you to Secretary Marshall, but she's already gone. And thank you, Martin, for those really timely updates and for your advocacy for all of Cabarrus County and North Carolina. So if there are not any other final remarks, we will call that a program and call it a night. And candidates, be on the lookout for a great announcement from the Cabarrus County Democratic regarding a contribution to the female candidate organization that seeks to elect women to run for office or to office. So that will take place after our membership votes, possibly electronically, according to our president, Ms. Kathleen. So thank you all, and thank you, Vincent, so much for the PowerPoint and